So it's officially White Boy Summer, which ended up being, was that March 28th? I believe we could put that on the calendar now.
Let's go.
Let's go. White Boy Summer. It's here. I knew in the back of my mind when Chet Hanks said that, I was like, he's not saying anything wrong, but he's going to get shit for it. And he did. He got shit for it because
I saw everyone hating, and then I started watching those videos. I was like, oh, this dude's a king. Yeah, he's a fucking, dude. The Beach Boys one. Have you guys seen the Beach Boys? That's my favorite video.
Oh, the Kokomo one?
Kokomo, dude. I was dying. Yeah, that was so good.
I saw somebody earlier make the brilliant observation that he's funnier than the entire cast of SNL put together. And it's true.
100%. Oh, 100%.
Yeah. By a wide margin.
Yeah. And he's like one, you can't even tell that he's riding like somebody's coattails, like his parents. Like you can't tell. I just thought for the longest time when I saw him, I didn't know it was Tom Hanks' son. I've been seeing his videos for like the last year or so because he doesn't look like Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
And it's nuts. And so what he said was he put out like a kind of a 10 commandments almost for what you can wear. And I didn't disagree with any of them.
Me either.
So he said no plaid, right? No plaid shirts.
Right. You look like a picnic table.
Facts. And then no Sperry's, right? Which
what are Sperry's?
Those are like those boat shoes that the frat boys wear. You know
okay, yeah,
right. I think that's what those are. And then no salmon. And then I think that was no salmon colored anything. I know Cy might push back on that a little bit, but
no, I don't have any. I have like a somewhat salmon shirt. I got a shirt. I know the pants are. If you have salmon shorts, that's line on the sand. Yeah,
fair.
Yeah,
fair.
Yeah.
So
I actually bought a pair of Sperry's at a thrift store a couple of years ago because there's a yacht club here and you can go to the yacht club and they have these open invitations to go and just like hang out with rich people and ride around their yachts. And so I'll just go dressed like a scumbag, but wearing Sperry's. And it's hilarious because they'll look me up and down and look at my shoes, like all confused, and then look at my, torn t-shirt. And it's just like this cognitive dissonance that I really
can't put me in a box.
No.
Rich people really do have like a crazy filter that we don't have of like eyeing you up and down and putting you in a little box or category or something. Not even like consciously, just
their whole life is consumerism too. Like they're like more so than even like the average American. They are what they consume and like, so if you buy this, like that is you, that's your identity when you're a rich person. So like that,
like you're an Hermes or a Louis Vuitton bitch. If you live in New York, like literally that's your ontological category.
Interesting.
In living in existence.
Yeah.
From the 5 to the 6, we be in the mix with that rare candy paint job on the whip. I need food for the kids, money for the rent. Fuck a lockdown, baby, I can't do that shit. Now I'll never vote, cause I'm fucking broke. And either way, I know the police ain't gon' leave me alone. On a plane by the visit Glen Rock, need crypto, told me I should bring the Glock with me. So I packed up my piece and I'm sliding. Cause we might get caught up in a riot. Middle finger Trump, middle finger Biden. Fuck a left, fuck a right, is you riding? Know you love to see it, dudes rocking. Ain't no politics, baby, we just talking. From the birds to the bricks, we be in the mix with that rare candy paint job on the whip. Who you with?
So we got gay Stepdad. He's back. I gotta introduce you here. He's back. This time it's just you, but we had a great episode. If you guys are just tuning in for the first time or just got here recently, I think like a couple months ago, you and River came by. It was a real fun one. So if you guys want to stop and listen to that one,
that was good.
Wasn't very time sensitive either. So that was just just good stuff. And you're back, and we're happy to have you back. And you've had some busy interactions on Twitter with a lot of the stuff going on this week. Like there was a mass shooting who everybody assumed was white.
Yeah.
When it happened, I did too. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
When it happened, I was like, it's a white guy.
Oh, is this a Syrian guy?
Yeah, he's a Syrian, a white passing Syrian guy, which I love that now because it still has to be a colorism thing. But
right.
Yeah, it's nuts. I talked about it a little bit on the Fed Post live stream, but these the name was like very Syrian. I'll say that much. The name of the guy, and I laughed in my head because I'm like, you guys know that like all this white passing stuff that only matters to like people of other races. Like racist white people are just like, no, that name is enough right there. It wouldn't matter if you were white with a comb over, like with that name. They're like, no, I don't fuck with that. So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, depending on your level of racism, you're going to be able to tell these little differences in like bridge nose width. You know what I mean? Like, real racists see this shit, so it doesn't matter. But I do have to say it's kind of interesting, I guess, to see colorism going in the other direction for once, you know, because colorism traditionally is, you know, the darker you are, the lower status you are. And now in this case, it's going like the whiter you are, like the worse of a serial murderer you are, you know, I guess.
Not even allowed to have summer. You can't even.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Go spring to fall.
Syrian summer, dude. Fucking
Let's just say a little prayer right now that White Boy Summer doesn't end up being a bunch of white boys shooting shit up, because that's gonna ruin the whole thing.
I will turn into Alex Jones, false flag Sandy Hook if that happens. I'm like, look, you clearly see here's a crisis actor here.
I alluded to that earlier. I was like, why do we get the post-COVID summer? You know, that's not good. You know, that's fucking like what the fuck is that about?
Yeah, exactly.
Man. Man, there's immediate fucking on everything, not even on one side or the other, but just like, you know, the black chicks that killed that Uber Eats guy, and then it's immediately a race thing, and then the white Syrian guy, it's like immediately like, and the same people are like, don't make it about race, and then they'll make it about like this, you know, those side by side tweet comparison, those golden we're living in that era, dude.
Amy Siskind had a really good one of that, where she was like,
don't jump to conclusions.
She was like, she said, I am so tired of our lives being decided by whether a white man with a gun has a bad day or not. And then like her next tweet was like, okay, the details have come out, and let's just not focus on his race and show his face and give him media time, anything like that. Guys, let's have some ethics.
And the thing is, I feel like I don't want to speak for other white dudes, but like 99% of us are like, yeah, like whatever, we suck. I don't care if you make fun of us. But then that 0.001% that's like gonna shoot up a school because they hear this race war shit. You know what I mean? It's like one of those. Yeah, I don't know if that's a good take or not, but
no, it's true. And like it turned into showering discourse. It was like, you don't wash your legs in the shower and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, first off, I
always thought that one was just like more in the camp of. Because like, okay, I grew up in mostly black neighborhoods. You grow up poor in the South, you're going to have black friends, or you're going to be a racist piece of shit. You know, like that's kind of a binary. You have to choose at age 12 when you grow up like I did. And like, that's how you make friends with people, is roasting each other. You know, like you crazy white people don't season your chicken, blah, blah, blah. You don't wash your legs, you know, and like, and, you know, it goes, you know, you've always had to be gentle when you roast black people, because, you know, you could be racist. You have to be and that's where the nuance comes in. And that's where you prove to your black friends that you're really not racist by how you can joke with them. But what's weird to me about the whole like scrolling through Twitter, you know, I'll see the white people don't wash their legs discourse and be like, haha, that's funny. That's like gentle roasting to sort of create some kind of cohesion. And then literally 2 takes down, I'll see that same take being used to like call us white devils. So there's no it's all been smeared, you know, like by design, you know.
Yeah. And it's just crazy how what you just said about roasting each other. That's the way it was, especially in the comedy world for decades, especially the 2000s. Like we were all getting closer together, you know, just like making fun of each other and shit. And then it just stopped in like 2015. It became like, nope, not doing that anymore. You know, and it's like,
could be fascist if you do that.
Yeah. Stop being fun. Yeah.
Right. Me and my boyfriend watched a bunch of Dave Chappelle videos a couple months ago, and we were just like, holy shit, this seems like it came from before we were born.
Totally.
Nothing on TV. Nothing on TV's ever made me happier in my life than Chappelle's show. Like I just, it was like, it was very critical of white people. Like probably still like on TV, probably the most critical thing you could be on white people. But I never saw white people get mad. Ever. They were just like, dude, this is hilarious. Like, this guy's so funny. Like the Real World, right? Where he it's the MTV Real World one where it's all black people and like one white guy. Yeah. And like the guys and the guy just goes up and like stabs the guy and like fucks his girlfriend in the room in front of him and stuff. It's like really, it's really he like stabs his dad too. It's like very funny. And but now it's everything's so calculated the way it's like, okay, we're gonna do this attack at this thing. Like no, everyone's scared to push the line in one direction, and it's all because of stuff like this. They're like, oh, because there's mass shootings being done, there's literal violence being done, and it's like, man, I don't know. It's pretty.
Well, this is why I think, and like, if you guys read my tweets, you know, I call it anarchoid neoliberalism, where it's sort of like how subcultural anarchism has gone into the mainstream throughout the 2010s, slowly until now. Here we are, you know, because the crazy shit that you're hearing, I don't know, like mainstream journalists say was it the same shit that you hear some dipshit anarchist say in 2005 who was like, slugging whiskey waiting for a train, it's crazy how this shit happened. But that's how it functions, is by like incoherence. Like you were talking about Siskind earlier, saying one thing and then literally the next day saying something completely different and getting away with it because they claim that, I don't know, maybe they think it's dialectical, where you just change your mind or change your position the next day and it's okay. That's like anarchoid thinking, because you don't have to be coherent.
There's no rules.
Yeah, there's no rules whatsoever. And it's also, they saw during the 2010s how progressivism in the culture was actually happening with people like Dave Chappelle, how Dave Chappelle was literally working to bring working class Blackened people together by dissolving the racial tension and acknowledging the history. How all of his jokes about slavery, like that's how it works. Those things work in the cultural realm.
Or the black KKK guy.
It's one of the best comedy sketches ever.
All that shit was amazing, and it was like incredibly like progressive politically and culturally. And so anarchoid neoliberalism had to destroy that because it is fundamentally a reactionary ideology, and they saw actual progressive things happening and they had to stop it. So now it's, you're evil if you make a joke about a black person or white, but white people, you can make jokes about it.
And it's not even that. It's not even jokes at this point. It's like you can't even talk about class struggle without it.
No.
Dude,
it's not even the joke police. You know what I mean? It's more so like, hey, like there's poor white people out here too. Like it'd be nice if we all got together and maybe found a common ground. I'm not like, there's this huge fallacy, like almost a straw man, where you're like, I don't want to not talk about racism ever. That's not like, I don't ever not. It's like and like Noname.
It's the reductionist
like pivot to the Noname stuff. Like I'll explain what she said later, but like Noname causes like all this hell on Twitter, like just like sets the world on fire. Like I don't care about poor white people. They can aid in whiteness just as much as anybody else, and with no class analysis. And then like 2 hours later, she's like making the white folks mad. I'm reading how Africa got colonized by Europe. It's like, we're not mad. We know that. Like
like I think it's kind of like this thing where it's like Stalinist, where you have to, before you can even speak, you say you have to pledge something before you speak. I think that's what they want. They want you to say, as a white devil, that you can't just speak. You have to acknowledge that you're a white devil, or that there's been 400 years of racism. Like, as if we don't all know this. Like, who doesn't know this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really
Do you think, I find it interesting because I think, Doug, do you think, like you were saying earlier, growing up in the South and actually having black friends and like honestly,
probably having black friends. I mean, like black friends who are black people and not just, grew up in
probably knowing more black people than these woke types that are, and does that hurt your feelings at all when like you get called this racist stuff for just pointing shit out or just kind of like playing around or whatever? And the other thing I noticed too, we can talk about, is like when actual people of color disagree with the shit, they are vilified harder than anyone else. Like harder. That's like, that's the craziest thing to me, is like, are we supposed to listen or not to people of color?
I don't want to disagree with a black person, right? You told me I couldn't, like, so,
which is such a weird place to be in. I don't know. And we're from the Bay, so I feel like we're a lot more like we're almost like more inherently woke, because we were raised in that environment, even though we push back on it and shit, versus like someone like you who just, when you grow up around when you not just white people, whoever it is, whether it's black or brown or Asian or whatever, it's just, you're kind of like immunized to all that, I feel. I don't know. Go off on that.
It doesn't hurt my feelings personally. It just kind of pisses me off because it's a huge waste of time, because you guys are younger than I am, and you were sort of inculcated into like the current paradigm of wokeness or whatever because of where you were grown up. But it was the opposite for me. Like basically you had, like I said, just a minute ago, like you had to choose by age 12 or 13 if you were a racist piece of shit or if you were like pre-woke. And pre-woke by I mean is just like not anti-racist, but just simply not racist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you were simply not racist. You realize, there are cultural differences between me and these black families that I live around, but we're exactly the same. There's nothing, and you also recognize, white privilege is a real thing. Like me and my friends in high school would skip school at age 14 and go to the mall. And, literally one time me and my white friend were shoplifting, and my black friend got arrested, even though he wasn't shoplifting. This shit. Yeah. And so it's like, I guess you can say it hurts my feelings, and that it just pisses me off watching bourgeois media culture and the bourgeois upper middle class people that run the discourse as adults going through the bullshit that I went through at age 14. That's what it is. It feels like adolescent, all of it.
They're growing up right now. Like, it's weird.
And you have Noname, who's like a 30-year-old woman basically saying shit that 13-year-old black kids would say in my high school. That's why it's just so disgusting to people like me.
Yeah.
And millions of tens of millions of people, not just me, people who, I'm not alone in this, I think the majority of poor white people grew up cheek by jowl with black people and Latinos or whatever, and they went through that shit. Yeah. So they're just constantly rolling their eyes and being disgusted by it because it's just a massive waste of time.
Yeah. You know what I can't stand is the whole, and I don't want to make it another Twitter war thing, but the anarchoid DJ that
I was going to bring him up immediately.
Well, I love the Twitter Fred Hampton explainers that are like, actually he was teaching them to be woke, and I'm like, no, he wasn't, dude. Like, it's like he was just a dude that was trying to like help everyone out. It's like,
very weird.
They rewrite history.
Like Fred Hampton was going around with a syllabus. Here you go. Here's your syllabus. This is
exactly. Fred Hampton was like, read Settlers Cracker. Like, you never said that shit. Like, Fred Hampton, literally, like, I'm not a Fred Hampton scholar, and some of these motherfuckers pretend to be, and it's just really embarrassing. It's just like, I've watched the videos and read some books or whatever years ago, and it's like, I'm not going to sit here and like give you quotes of what Fred Hampton said, but like, he was never trying to say that white people need to be subservient, poor white people need to like bow down to black people. That was never the tone. That was never it. And it was literally like, we're different people. There's tension. Like, he always acknowledged the tension. He's like, the only thing that's bringing us together, let's be real, is the fact that we're like the most exploited people under capital. That's that's our commonality. Let's just work with that, because that's all you need.
Yeah.
You don't need all this other shit.
And my whole thing is like, working class white people can be extremely racist. And it's like, I'm not saying we should ignore that. Like, no, I'm not saying Noname or whatever, or whoever should feel comfortable, like, hanging out with them or whatever. But man, like, we got a job to do. We are getting fucked by the elite, and it's like, it's just, what are we gonna wait another 100 years? It's like, it's never. And I like the Bill Burr joke on how just everyone is racist. Like a Mexican dude going up to an Indian dude and be like, "What the fuck is that dot on your fucking head?" It's just like, I love that, dude. It's so true. It's so, Well, I don't know, man. It's like,
exactly. And
we're not defending this shit. I'm not defending. It's like.
But what you asked, Gay Stepdad earlier, I like, it's the same thing for me. Is like, dude, I like do have a lot of like black people in my life that are very close to me and stuff. And if somebody were to like misconstrue what I said as racism, like, even then I would get a little bit of anxiety, because I'm like, well, I know what I said wasn't, but like, are they gonna think that? Like, are they gonna think? Are they be like, look what this guy's been up to, and it is fucked up. But it's like, at the same time, those people that are running the discourse on Twitter, right? Even the Nonames and stuff. Like, Noname, I still think is projecting because she has all white fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
She is. She's mad about it's the like absolutely what like anarchoids and liberals do when they project, is they're like, this is what I'm surrounded by in this small area. This is what's happening everywhere. When really it's like, you should just be talking to your fans and be like, hey, my fans, I got a bunch of white people, here you go. Like, but instead it's like casting out, like prescribing, medication for like all of society, where like, look, I'm sorry, like, we have other problems, like, I don't know.
Well, I like what so you brought up like a little quick detour here. Did you notice both Noname and AOC, who are both like anarchoid political actors now, Noname is like, they both threatened to quit what got them famous because of harassment and shit. That's like prime like anarchoid emotional manipulation and terrorism. They're just like, oh, well, you're not giving me exactly what I want as an elite. Well, I'm just gonna stop doing this. Like, she's like, I'm not gonna perform in front of white people, because it's not my job to educate white people, even though they're paying me to educate them. And AOC is like, well, politics is too difficult. I'm just gonna quit to be an influencer. That's that. So there's that aspect where like they're holding their fans and everyone else in like this weird emotional purgatory, where they're like, are they going to quit or are they going to keep going? And then they also like the anxiety you said earlier about how when you say something that even acknowledges race, and immediately as a white person, you're like, oh shit, are they going to think this is racist? And now then you're anxious.
Mm-hmm.
That both the emotional manipulation and the anxiety that's been created by the discourse turns directly into money and clout. That's what it's all about. Like, I don't think, like, I think that, and it's completely unconscious and reflexive for someone like Noname. Like, Noname isn't, she's working with this set of ideas, this anti-racist shit that she's working with, that's emotional, that is coming directly from her brain, but unconsciously she knows that if she maintains her fan base and the discourse in this like suspended animation of anxiety, then she will stay in the news cycle. She will keep making money one way or another, you know. So it always comes back around to how you can cash in on this shit, because none of these anti-racists are doing this shit because they genuinely believe it's going to end racism. Because why would you end the thing that pays your fucking bills? You know?
Exactly.
Like,
No,
exactly. They're perpetuating it, they're keeping it going. And it's I think it's more like just instantly recognizable to working class people who grew up around minorities than it is to people who didn't. And that's how they're getting it. Well, because they don't want my money. Like, they know they're not going to get my money, but they know
subconsciously or not, their audience and their paycheck. Basically, they know. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Well,
go ahead. Sorry. No. Go ahead.
Well, I went to like a somewhat prestigious school that I dropped out of, and that's what kind of red pilled me to the. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, basically Hogwarts. Yeah, Neolib.
Yeah, I'm not
Central.
joking.
Yeah, and that's what red pilled me to the whole race class thing, because it was at a point in my life when my dad was kind of out of the picture, and it was just my mom and I, extremely broke, you know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of actually, and to their credit, like, the school hooked me up financially. They didn't get me into debt or anything like that, you know, because we were poor. And then first of all, I always hated academic shit, like not even just critical race theory, you know, or whatever, but just I was always super allergic. I was like, this is bullshit. And I didn't even know when I didn't know why, you know?
Yeah.
And then going there and, like, you know, seeing these kids of high class, of any skin color, and I'm not saying they didn't experience racism in their lives or have cops fuck with them or whatever, but just like seeing these kids, like, you know, going hardcore in this critical race theory stuff, and also knowing that they're literally going to get like $150,000 a year job right out of college. Right. And then, like, I drop out and my mom, like, can barely buy food, and I'm just like, we're struggling and shit. You know, I'm not saying it's like a personal thing that, like, oh, my life's so hard or whatever, but I was just like, there's something here, I think, you know, that's interesting without taking anything away from the race thing. And it was more I was like, oh, this privilege thing is way more about opportunity and class than anything else. And
absolutely.
And, like, you know, if you go to a prestigious school, it's you are in another world. You're in another echelon of society, like, full stop. You know,
absolutely.
you have and
almost
and so
another species or something.
Almost,
you know?
Almost another species. Yeah. And so that was kind of what did it for me. But I didn't have the words to formulate it, and I didn't have the, you know, I didn't know what was happening, but I was like, something's weird here. You
didn't have the words to formulate it because you didn't stick it out in the fucking anarchoid academic scene and learn the words to articulate it, because you can't, like, if you articulate it as like a normal person, like I try to do, even though I know all this academic shit, like I know these terms, like, I went to school, I dropped out too, but I'm just a nerd and an art fag. So I read all this shit, you know, like, not the critical race theory, but like the other stuff, the Baudrillard and the Derrida or whatever. Like, if you try to put it in normal people language, then you're automatically considered to be a racist, therefore lower class, you know, because let's be real, like, they're not accusing rich people of being racist. Like, when was the last time somebody, like, other than BLM, accused Jeff Bezos of being racist?
Oh shit.
You never hear that. You never hear that.
No, the rich people post the fucking signs on their lawn out here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That, like,
even though exactly. Yeah. And even though
you don't see it in poor neighborhood, you don't see "In this house we trust science." That you don't see that sign in poorer neighborhoods out where I live.
Because in poor neighborhoods, the fucking black people know that the white people are either racist or not. They don't need, they know each other already. You know, it's not like the rich suburbs where people just wave at each other and shit.
Yeah.
You know?
And and half of the BLM white people sign owners I've said this before, they cross the street when they see a black dude. You know, I'm just gonna say that, dude.
Absolutely.
It's crazy, man. It's like what
Absolutely.
you know, yeah.
Alexa, lock the Porsche doors.
Exactly. All right. BLM alert. There's an ethnic disturbance on the street corner.
Yeah, dude.
He didn't like the sign. Lock the doors. Yeah. That's crazy, man.
It's weird. It's weird how obvious all this shit is, and that's
dude.
It's so weird. Like, and the fact that that's why I spend too much time on Twitter. I guess is because it used to feel like, you know, back when I was employed, I spent a lot less time on Twitter, and I felt like I was learning something. Where you're like, oh, and I guess that was like in 2019 when you were learning something because the discourse was you were seeing which direction it was going, whether bad or good. But you know, since like the end of, you know, I guess for like the last 6 months, it's just kind of stagnated in the same, it's like a hamster running an anti-racist wheel. You know what I mean? And the hamster turds are accusations of racism. And it's just that for 6 months.
Well, and look at the way that even in 2016 where it started, like, or not where it started, but where I first started seeing this, it was Trump's base is poor, uneducated whites, right? So there's a whole thing where basically our colleges need to do better and our colleges need to be, and even the anarchoids on the left were like, well, we need to make college available for everybody because college is going to make you into a not racist as well as all this stuff. Right. But now, magically, after the Capitol riots, Trump's base within that 4 years became boat dealers.
Yes.
And owners of businesses. So the glow up for the deplorables. Let's round of applause for them. But it's nuts. Like it's nuts. Knowing your enemy is somebody like I talk to a lot of black people my age, and they're not on Twitter. They're not online. These are just people I work with, people I see like on a regular basis. They know who their enemy is. Yeah. Like, I'm not there. They're not saying that they like the guy down the street. They're not inviting the racist guy down the street, the garbage man or whoever, like whatever worker. They're not inviting that guy over for dinner for anything. They know that that's not their mortal enemy though.
Right.
You know what I mean? Their mortal enemy is, you know, sometimes the purpose of collecting your rent at the end of the month. Sometimes the people who have power over you, institutional power over you. It's like a game of rock, paper, scissors. Like, yes, I have white privilege, or maybe rock, paper, scissors ain't the right thing, but I have white privilege over a working class black person. I'll admit that every single time. For sure. We get pulled over. It's going to go different ways. It's going to go whatever. When we start blurring class lines, I think there's nuance to it. I think there's a way where millionaire, especially in the public eye, black person has more privilege than me. And I don't think that's a hot take. Like, it's so weird but that's cancelable. That's quote tweet, fucking lock your account level shit that you say, if you say that right now.
Well, and also, and you mentioned the Bezos thing, and this goes back to like when I was doing some activism in school before I dropped out. What I noticed is it's an American privilege thing where, you know, the more exorbitant of a, you know, upper class life you live in America, literally, actually, the more you fuck over brown and black people all over the globe in terms of like everyone talking about colonialism now, which no one denies is real. You know, everyone knows like whites are historical colonizers and stuff. But like today, the colonization is the upper class, like just totally pillaging the entire global South community. Right. And I was trying to get people to see that, you know, not even on purpose or whatever, but it was just like, hey, this like our school is like a neo-lib hellhole that's literally lying to brown and black people and like propagandizing them and taking their resources. And everyone is just worried about, you know, whatever the pronouns or the, you know, some like conservative guy speaking on campus or some shit, you know, just pointless shit. And I'm like, that's what really like red pilled me. I was like, okay, I'm not like you guys at all. You know, you're not serious about this. You know, you actually don't. Yeah.
Well, no, they are serious about, again, I'll use the nerdy fucking term, the anarchoid academic social reengineering project. They are serious about that. And what that is a constant bait and switch distraction maneuver. It's literally doing everything you can to not talk about the implications of like vast economic inequality and class, you know.
But why is everyone such a willing stormtrooper for this, you know, such a like little pawn? Like, you know, that's what confuses me. Maybe
I think you have different levels. You know, you have the people at the top, like you have the Imani Kindis and the Hannah Nicole Joneses, who that's how they've entered into the bourgeoisie. That's how they've become bourgeois. So then they're the ones who are personally benefiting, you know, because let's make no mistake, this whole thing, like 2020, the BLM thing, all of it was how a new black bourgeois is being formed so that the white bourgeois can absolve themselves of their inherent racism and blame it on the little guy, the poor guy.
So this is the take that was getting you into trouble, I think, what you just said. You know,
What's
that this is the take that you just said that was getting you into trouble, I think. That there is such a thing as a minority bourgeois that is that is sucking the air out of the room, kind of.
And they give themselves away instantly. Like all of my interactions with Professor Griff, the anarchist DJ. Like he literally, he's like, every time I talk about this, he'll like he won't quote tweet me anymore because he's a fucking coward. So he'll like, screenshot it and be
I see the screen. Yeah, he still follows me. I don't get it. Like he still follows me and like
he hasn't blocked me yet. Well,
they need content. They need content. Yeah,
they need content. They need us. Like they need us. And like, every time I use that, I know that every time I like talk about that guy, I'm getting him another couple of Instagram followers. But I don't give a fuck because this is what we're trapped in. Like I have to talk about it because it's like I can't just let it go. But like I'll say something like the black bourgeoisie, and he'll say. And he'll just, and this is where the power, the discursive power of these people comes in his register of discourses. He laughs. He'll be like, LOL, look at this cracker. He's such a right winger, because the black bourgeoisie is literally 1% of the bourgeoisie. Haha. And that he literally gives himself away by saying that, because for him, he wants the black bourgeoisie to be 13 to 15% of the bourgeoisie. He wants perfect bourgeois representation of black people instead of what his purported goal is as a leftist or whatever, to lift everybody up.
Yeah.
Like they don't give a fuck about lifting everybody up. They literally just give a shit about getting into this black bourgeoisie. And that's why you saw the Professor Griff do the woke rebrand, because he saw that the cultural and the political avant-garde is like anti-woke now. And so he was glomming onto that after BLM because he knew that it was contrarian, like it's all just like, it's like everybody under the age of 40 now is just like a master PR person for their own personal brand, and that's what this guy is. So like, if you just look at it like scientifically, like that's what he was doing. He was anti-woke because it was contrarian after BLM. He got a bunch of followers, and then he rebranded as a woke person because he realized that he had gotten everybody that he could get from that. There was a bigger market share in the woke world, so he did a rebrand.
It was basically like a like market-based politics, almost like just letting the free market, letting the quote unquote free market of Twitter, or whatever. That's
your Jacobin style market socialism. That's what market socialism is. It's not market. It's not like the socialism applied to actual physical economic markets. It's social. It's like this vapid like identities socialism applied to the market of the individual PR branding of the individual capitalist subject.
Cultural free, the free market.
And they end up and it's also like a literal market too, to the fact where like you said, well, I forget what the guy's name is. Last name's Kendi. Ibrahim Kendi or something.
He's changed his name like 8 times, so it's fucking hard to remember. Because I've had my eye on this guy for a while.
So that like that I thought it was a fucking joke meme, the anti-racist baby one.
No, it's real.
It's a real thing, which is
they got it in my public library. They got like 6 copies.
Wow. Can you put one in reserve for me, please? But, I'll be there in about a week. But I know they're flying off the shelves, so I didn't want to. Yeah.
Well, no, actually, like a quick detour. It meant a lot to me when I went to the library and saw it, and I was like, there were 6 copies, and I talked to the library, and I'm like, "Is this all you have, or are there others checked out?" And she's like, "No, that's it. They're just not checked out because I'm living in New Orleans." Yeah. Where poor black people and poor white people don't need that shit.
Yeah.
Because you don't need that shit.
You learn these things communally. You learn them communally.
Yes.
Since we are bug men now, since we are stay inside and be on Twitter, and since I'm a social person, I think you sound like a pretty social person too.
Yeah.
Like we have a social life outside of Twitter. A lot of people don't. So they're like, no. This is where my education's coming from. This is where it's not going to be. Talk to somebody would never. Like I gotta learn it. I gotta learn it from Mr. Kendi over here. But like that book, you're supposed to learn these things community. And I also think like this is fucking weird to be teaching little kids. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying, and I had this talk with somebody, and I don't want to share their name because maybe they don't necessarily want this out here saying that, but I was talking to them, and they're like, what does it do to a child's psychology, both white and black, in the scenario where a black kid is like fearing for their life at age 4 or 5 when that book's being read to them, and look, you can make a case that like they fear for their life more than white people, and I agree. But you're actually like instilling in like curriculum that like you should be scared to die at all times, and then to a white kid, it's like you're guilty from birth. Like it's almost like Catholic original sin, where you're no, you're guilty from birth. Like we haven't decided whether you're racist or not. You can get your Twitter account for that. But it's fucking nuts.
It's postmodernist bullshit, man. It's like they're throwing it's like the structure of cults, religions, technocratic obsession with data. It's everything, you know, like, and when people are like, wokeness is a religion, I'm like, that's a dumb take, because it's not, it's beyond that. It's like, it's that plus, you know, because they're throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks to avoid talking about class. And it's cool that you bring up the anti-racist baby thing, because like, I was like, you guys were talking, you said you want to talk about the Greenwald thing. I don't want to do a quick pivot, but
no, it's fine.
Hey man,
they're like sort of these good. Two things are tied together, where it's this is a multi-generational project where like literally they are trying to re-engineer society. And that sounds like some crackpot shit, you know, like I sound like an Alex Jones type dude when I say that, but because I've seen like long story. I want to have another conversation about this some other time, but I've had a long involvement off and on with like subcultural anarchism, and like it literally is, they want to re-engineer society, but because the bourgeois people sort of glommed on to like a working class anarchism, like, okay, abolish the gender binary. Like you've heard that term, like it's it disappeared into the ether by now. That used to mean like back around like 2004 or 5, 2002, that used to mean like abolish the gender binary when you're talking to me as a trans or non-binary person. That means like you just don't think about gender when you're talking to me. And then now it's taken on by bourgeois media academics and shit, where it means abolish it completely. Yeah. And so, you know, we now have what is this chick who Biden just put on? I forgot her name. Let me look it up.
Are you talking about the health?
Levine. Like this really hit me today because I was reading about her senatorial confirmation hearing, and Rand Paul asked her, quote, "Do you believe that minors are capable of making such life-changing decisions as changing one's sex?" And she refused to answer the question 3 times. You know, she just refused to answer it. She wouldn't say one way or the other. And that's what politicians have traditionally done, right? But in ways of saying, when someone says like, how are you going to help, you know, plumbers in Iowa? They're like, well, we're going to help the plumbers in Iowa. They don't say, you know. But
plumbers in Iowa are the backbone of society, first of all.
Exactly.
Trans plumbers in Iowa.
Trans
plumbers in Iowa.
I don't know many trans people. I know a lot of trans people, and none of them want jobs like that. But anyway, but so like this is, you know, this is how you sort of inculcate your ideology into a society. Is, I mean, it sounds like some crazy shit to say, but like one of the first things the Nazis did was form the Hitler Youth. You know, you have to you have to get the youth, because if you convince the parents that the youth are going to be a potential problem, and you have to literally nip whatever you don't want in the bud, whether it be a gender binary or racism, that's when you know that they've won completely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's what's so scary about all this, is like this isn't even up for debate. These people have won.
Yeah, because again, lower class neighborhood. Think about this: lower class neighborhood. I grew up in a nice neighborhood, but we had like the only house that was for rent in the neighborhood, and it was like a duplex. So like you know, around the corner it got a little, you know, more lower class. So that was where a lot of my friends lived and stuff, because I went to the public school rather than the private school up the street. So
sorry, I just have to interject. Our public school was like literally the
melting pot. Yeah.
It was like literally all the other schools were like, all right, we got to keep our white numbers up. Let's just send them all to
this school.
Yeah. It was literally our school was just like, send them there. Yeah.
Sure. So you know, I'm trying to remember where I was going. Oh,
sorry.
Okay,
I cut you out.
No. It's like a lower class neighborhood, right? This is why I'm very much a fan of like localism and like communalism and stuff, because you don't need any gender stuff when you have like, so everybody has in like a lower, especially in like a black neighborhood, there's a lot of like studs, right, that they call them, like lesbians, like where they have like bald fades and like wife beaters on and stuff like that, and like they're
where
Where you? Oh,
I thought
no, I mean studs like black lesbian. So I don't know if that's
okay.
quite
I've never even
I don't
heard that term.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. So
new.
it's kind of like you've seen it, like a black woman who's got like the bald. I
Yeah.
don't want to say like Lena Waithe, because that's not true, because she's like
They used to beat my ass in high school. I know exactly what you're talking.
Yeah. So okay, no, they're no joke. And and yeah. So I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't mean black studs in that manner.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, wait.
Yeah, very big difference.
I'm gay. You piqued my interest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where are these studs?
Yeah. Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm sure they're still there. Yeah. But everybody knows who that person is. They know what they want to identify as. They know what they want to do, and they'll beat somebody's ass for fucking with them. You know what I mean? Even whatever their view is on that the gender binary or anything, they're like, no, but I know that person. I know this person. I know they're a good person, and I'll defend them with my life if you make fun of so and so up the street. But it's like we don't have that anymore.
No.
We don't have that anymore. And I miss that. Like, I miss being able to explain that to somebody, and they're like, well, that's just people were just being okay with your whiteness in that neighborhood. It's like, no, that's not true. Like,
fucking whiteness, dude. Whiteness is so nebulous.
Whiteness is hilarious.
It's so crazy.
Like, we don't hate white people, we just hate whiteness. And I'm just like,
but then like I'll get on Twitter and accuse Hannah Nicole Jones or Noname of whiteness, and they're just like, it's literally like, they're like, how can you be whiteness if you're blackness? Like, it's literally this such a binary bullshit, like idiotic, unnuanced way of thinking. You can't accuse a black person of whiteness when what they mean by whiteness literally changes every.
Yeah, you don't have to be white to do whiteness. That Sheriff David Clark is doing whiteness, right? And they're like, yeah.
Well, that's our take, but I mean, they're not going to agree that. They're not going to agree with that. Like, they're going to say that.
Well, that's where politically black, right? That's where politically black came from. I thought that was I didn't think of that anything at all. Like, if you don't vote for Biden, you're not black. I didn't think of much of that. I thought that was just Biden, short circuiting on TV when he said that. But when you think about that, like, that's like the political blackness, like that kind of is what it is. Like, whatever your take on COVID is determines your political leaning, right? Like, whatever your take on race, or like if you're even pushed back a little, you're like, really, all this? They're like, no, you're MAGA. Like, it's that's what political, like, blackness, political, and even like that, they're saving that term for when the black class reductionists start speaking out too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and they are, and they are, but like not on, a mass level, because that's by design, but they're saving that political blackness thing for that.
Damn.
You mentioned the Fed post, and I love Class Redux so much.
The best.
That dude is like one of the best voices on the
he's savant,
left,
dude.
or whatever the fuck. Like, he's one of the best voices of like intelligent political people in the discourse.
Our blazing king.
I love how he does. I love how he's never face doxed. Because I
don't want to ever see his face. I don't ever want to see his face.
I don't like. No. That's the thing. Like, I don't, and like you can like, and that's where his sort of discursive brilliance comes in. Is like, when you read his tweets, that like a black man wrote them.
Absolutely.
And you just know that.
You want to know something funny?
You don't need to see that he's a black guy. And because if he did show his face, then they would start picking apart his fucking DNA in real time.
Facts.
They would literally be like, you are not black enough because you're whatever.
Yeah, and it would be hilarious if he was white too, by the way.
It would. That would be the biggest fucking like reveal of 2.
It would be the funniest thing of all time. I mean, other people would be like, use it as a dunk moment. I'd be like, you know what, bravo, dude. Like, that's like that was the best. Like, fucking what's the guy's name?
Chet Hanks. What if Chet Hanks is like really class reduction?
He turned into to Chet Hanks defender on Twitter.
Yeah, he did. Let's
Chet Hanks is really the Chet Hanks is really the whited.com pilled alt account.
Yeah, exactly. So but it's funny when we had him on, CRK, one of my friends, black dude, like just a leftist, right? Like Bernie guy, like, and stuff. He listens, and we're friends on like a sports level. But he listens to this, and he's like, hey, what's that black.com pill? Like, what race is he? And I was like, oh, he's black and Asian. He goes, oh, okay. In that case, dude, he was sick. I was like, what?
Whoa, right.
Yeah. He was like, because at first he was like, yo, if this is a white guy, I'm just not trying, like, what? Because he's a black guy. He's like, you're not, I agree, but like, nah. Because that's a thing. That's totally a thing. Like, and I understand that. They're like, you can be right, but I'm not trying to hear that from you. And that's what a lot of this is like right now. But it's like, let's just talk about it. Like Noname, she quote tweeted somebody from like our side of Twitter. I remember. I want to say
that Nicole chick.
Yeah, Nicole. It was always like pretty civil on there, but she was
really level headed.
Yeah, always pretty civil, like pretty insightful and stuff. And all she said was like, look, homeless white people, and I think it was homeless was actually the term that was used, like poor and homeless white people, like they can be racist to you, they can ruin your day, but they're not your enemy. And no named, oh well, they aid in whiteness. And I saw like people in the replies going, shit, homeless white people are the most racist ones. And it's like any rich white guy is like cha-ching, like perfect, like winning on all levels. I just won right now. Like
and because,
it's like when the Joker says, like everything is going according to plan, but what if the plan is horrific? Like that's what's happening. Like, and the rich guys, when they see that kind of shit, they're like, yes, this is what we want.
And nuts. I think racism, a certain kind of like the bad, the worst kind of racism is just rooted in a lot of mental illness, which is just a homelessness thing anyway.
Can't do that either.
We've all seen that. Yeah, and exactly. But it's it's interesting. Yeah, the whole.
Well, this is kind of spicy too. But like, here's another thing that I always talk to people about. Like my boyfriend, like he grew up in White Plains, New York, but he grew up in like an upper middle class neighborhood, and he's always saying like, he had like friends of different races, as he puts it, but they were all middle class or upper middle class. And so, he was kind of woke when we first started hanging out, and he kind of got rid of it. But there's a big difference between racism and what I would call like petty ethnic antagonism, where like, like I grew up around, like I said, I grew up around black folks, Mexicans, whatever the fuck. And like, you live in there's two houses of white families, and they're surrounded by like houses of black and Latino families, and they have different ways of living. What I mean? They just do things differently, and you're going to get irritated with each other. What I mean? And those aren't like that's not racism. That's just being irritated with someone.
Yeah, the odd couple. Almost. I mean?
And like literally, there's there's this place in North Georgia that me and my boyfriend found when we were like driving around looking for, like, we're trying to buy some land up there, and it's called Rebels Food Mart, right? It's in like around J, Georgia, and it's like a little shitty convenience store that has like fried chicken and fucking boiled peanuts or whatever. That's like a thing in the South, and it's got a Confederate flag for a sign. And like, we found this place, and it was kind of like our hub. We'd go there and eat lunch and then drive around and shit. And one day I was in there, and there was this old white woman working behind the counter, and she was talking to some other young girl in there. And she said the N-word, and me and my boyfriend just like perked up like, oh shit, what the fuck? Like, oh shit, like literally Rebels Food Mart is full of racists. And literally 5 minutes later, a black dude walks in, and the lady is just like both of them are old as shit, like in their 60s. And she's like, Ed, how you been doing? Blah, blah, blah. And they're just like old friends. They're fucking old friends. And like, she's treating this guy like a person. That she's not getting anything from. Why would this old white woman perform? Why would this old white woman be racist 1 minute and then not be racist the next minute? If she's going to be racist, why would she fucking be so nice to Ed? Why wouldn't she tell him to get out?
It's a communal thing. It's a communal thing. And she probably is racist. That's the thing. Like, she probably is like legit racist. The problem is he's a vetted black person that's coming.
Right.
I know this black man. I know him. Right. He's helped me change the tire out on my truck when it
exactly.
all this kind of stuff. And like, if we get back to living that way, I guarantee you don't see all this fucking crazy shit. But absolutely. Like, since like, and it's not a like a hate on inclusion type stuff, but sometimes there's square pegs and round holes. I'm sorry. Like, it's just like, there's certain communities, like, and I'm not even talking about races, but certain class communities, like we all know how to get along with each other. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
The world doesn't blow up. Let's just say that much. There's crime, there's all that kind of stuff. And like, it's like you said, I've seen that exact same, my grandpa is like that. Like he's like he'll. I mean, I've never heard him drop a hard R before, but he's. He said everything, but it's a West Coast thing. You don't have to say it to be racist. It's
it's a West Coast thing.
It is in and out burger racism. Like
exactly.
And like but the black guy that works or I think he actually owns the car wash down the street, the favorite guy of all time. Just this guy's the coolest guy ever. Like, just fine. We went golfing with him and everything. And it's like, my grandpa's racist. I'll never not deny that. But it's like we're not gonna fix him. That's as good as it gets.
Yeah. Here's what power. Okay, like, well, maybe you mentioned golf, so maybe your grandfather has like a little bit of economic power. But like this woman at Rebels Food Mart who is making fucking $7 an hour and lives in a shitty trailer that's falling apart. What power does her little petty racism have over anyone when she is going to treat black people that she knows as equals? What does that do? What does that matter in the grand scheme of things? And that is exactly what No Name's tweet was attacking. was these powerless people
and
who literally have no fucking power over anyone, including the black people around them.
Yeah, and Noname could go down there.
She did not let him buy gas. She did not sell him the fucking fried chicken.
Yeah,
you know what I think it is.
On?
Yeah, exactly. I think I read it. I forget where I read this, but it really hit me between the eyes. Where, and again, this anarchoid thing, they're strictly focused on language and and saying the right thing and doing and all this different
affect,
stuff and affect. And I was reading this thing on like this guy that there's such a but that doesn't, and that's not I'm not defending like people saying the N-word or whatever, but like there's a big difference between intent. And I was reading about this like old racist sailor or this old white sailor guy living in South Africa, and he would just literally call black people like darkies, like, oh yeah, the darkies over there. But he's got way more black friends than like some woke BLM sign type that is going to cross the street when they see a black person, but the anarchoids, they would rather have the latter than the former, right? Because it's all about language to them. It's all about affect and everything. And I'm not defending saying darkies, that's not, but there's clearly something going on.
And I have somewhat of a spicy take too, where I think, and I'm not going to speak for anybody here, just from the certain black people I've talked to, they like their racism out in the open more so than the undercover ones. So they would rather have that guy who's like, this is where I am. This is what I do. This is who I am. I'm racist. I'm not going to say what you want me to say. But I think that the bourgeois black, or the ones that are higher up, maybe higher education, academics and stuff, they want the masochism, like the white masochism from like someone like me, right? Somebody who works hourly wage job out in construction. They want me to be like that in the George Floyd rally. When I knew the George Floyd rally started turning was when I started seeing the white women in the park, I'm sorry, doing the I'm sorry chants. They want that, which is funny because every other like working class black person I saw was like, dude, that is fucking lame.
That's when it jumped the shark. The Floyd protest jumped the shark.
Yeah, they did. And it's when it happened, they all admitted it too, even though they don't want to hear the mainstream media say that. They don't want to hear the mainstream media say, oh, they don't want to hear Tucker Carlson say, oh, they jumped the shark. But look, it did at that point. And I think everyone's trying to create like a monopoly on race, where it's like, this is what black people think. This is what white people think.
Right.
We need white people to submit to what black people think, even though this is not the hive mind of actual black people. This is the hive mind of the black people with institutional power. Right. Yes. Which isn't, I'm not going to say it's a huge amount, but it's there,
Well, it's substantial. It's like, and it's kind of almost like, this is spicy, but how there's constantly a disparity discourse, there's a disparity in how, which obviously there is a disparity that there are more black people who are poor than black people who are rich. Yeah, absolutely. That's no question. Yeah. But they just, they have to keep ramming it down our throats in terms of like COVID, how supposedly COVID impacted black people more than white people and shit like that, which, it probably did. Like the last I read, it was sort of up in the air because it was kind of ideological media swaying it one way or the other. But I think, oh God, I sort of lost my train of thought on that. But like, that's how it functions in terms of just trying to always put the blame on the little guy. Always how it goes. It's just always what's going on.
You're trying also, I just on that thought, I find it funny, and I agree that the minorities were hit harder due to COVID economic policies more than anything, which all the leftists supported. That's the irony. It's like they're like,
or at least we're okay with. They were rather they would rather they claim they fought for more money during all this, which
leftist posting L's, dude. It's a fat L,
which is fine. But you were also okay with the shutdown. You were okay with anything that wasn't us resuming our life, and to me, that if you're gonna put COVID deaths on me, you're going to take that liability of the lockdown deaths and all that. And look, like maybe they don't have the best access to healthcare. Maybe they don't have healthy food readily available to them. And maybe that's why COVID ran through those communities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like,
instead of doing race science on everything.
And this is what I was going to talk about, like two things, like the disparities that okay, I live in New Orleans and I live in like a black neighborhood. There's like a few white people that own shitty houses that they're fixing up on the way. I rent my house because I like whatever. And like everyone around me is like in their 50s or 60s and they're black, and they bought their houses after working their asses off as civil servants for most of their lives.
Right.
Like that is literally everybody on my fucking block, except for the drug dealers down the fucking block. Sure. But there's a cultural thing in New Orleans where every Saturday and Sunday, you get together in massive fucking groups and you mob the neutral ground. We have neutral grounds here, which are these like, we have big boulevards with big, like, you know, grassy strips in the middle. Everybody pulls up their fucking cars and has barbecues and they have sound systems and they have this thing. So like, it was literally kind of like, I never heard this. I haven't heard this discourse at all during the whole COVID thing, where how it was incredibly racist to deny these people something that they've been doing for 100 or 200 years.
It's culture. Yeah, you're hating on culture.
Yeah, they've been doing this shit. And like they like all the black folks I knew around here, like chilled the fuck out on the big block parties, you know, during the middle of spring when you have them.
Yeah.
You know, they chilled out for like the whole month of March and then part of April. But then they just started doing it again because they're like,
fuck yeah.
What the fuck? Like, what am I living for? I'm broke. This is what I live for. Yeah. I'm broke. I fucking work for minimum wage. This is what I live for, is doing this shit.
COVID's not more of a threat than the outside, than these other circumstances. That's the problem. That you can't make, like, with that. And I don't even want to get too hard down a COVID path, but like COVID's not more of a death threat than a lot of things to poor people. That's just what people that like the death rate, no matter how you want to slice it. When people keep saying, "Oh, our workers are dying," no, like I'm sorry, like they're dying of a lot of other shit though. Like every day, pandemic or not.
Yeah. And if you're a working class of whatever race and you've lived through this pandemic and actually seen, and you're an essential worker or whatever, you have your finger on the pulse of what's actually happening way more than like a neolib Zoom professional class type, you know, which is like who's still afraid to go outside or whatever, you know. It's like,
getting packaged politics. But I do want to pivot just because I don't want to go too long today, but I do want to pivot. Just the last thing on today is we're pretty big Glenn Greenwald fans. I remember you used to go by Glenn Greenwald.
Yes.
I was wondering if that was you or if that was someone else. So,
no, that was him. Yeah. That was when I first remember. Like,
I should go back to that.
That was a great name. I like them both. They're both. It was good when your name was Glenn Greenwald, and then it was Gay Stepdad as the @. I think that was when it was at its peak, when it was at the handle. Yeah. I think that was. I think that because I just remember that. But
I've been phoning it in on this new account. But go ahead.
Oh no, you haven't. Stop it. I won't hear anything of it. But the Glenn Greenwald's in trouble, as he is every day, I think. Yeah. Because a while back, and it's kind of been like a snowball effect for him, and he's been in trouble for a while. I mean, honestly, since critiquing Hunter Biden's laptop, then he got canned from The Intercept, right? Was it when he did the Hunter Biden leaks or something? For I might be off on that, but I remember when he left.
I think it was an accumulation. Like they literally just had to
going on Tucker all the time because
he's just too real and too based. They couldn't have him.
I love him. Love the guy. We're huge fans, Glenn Greenwald defenders. Yes. But he's in trouble now for one talking. I've never even heard of this person, Katie Herzog. It was the first time I'd ever heard of her.
Me either. Never heard
ever.
Of her.
But I guess she's a TERF, right? Trans exclusionary radical feminist. Right. And for pointing out that there are fewer lesbian women now identifying as lesbian now, but the trans, I got to make sure I got this right. Trans men numbers are up, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, female to male,
one could surmise, right, from that data that maybe they're just identifying as men now, right? Like that. I thought that was not really a controversial take, but like I don't know if you have. Like, that's the situation, right? With that, like,
dude, what's so funny about this? And one reason I saw that on the Twitter feed, and I clicked on the fucking article, I read it for 15 seconds, and I closed it because that has literally been a running joke in the in the gay cis male bar scene for years. Like literally, I like to hang out in two different bar scenes, and like one is like the older guys who are like 10 or 20 years older than me, and then the ones where the guys are like 10 years younger than me.
There you go.
You know, that's
the twinks.
Fun, you know, like you hang out with the twinks,
going hunting,
old dudes, and you know, you go get a bunch of twinks, and you go hang out with the old dudes, and then you like make a thing, and you go to all the bars. And so like the old gay dudes have been lamenting that for literally like 3 or 4 years because
lamenting what exactly?
The disappearance of lesbians.
Oh, okay.
Specifically butch lesbians, because butch lesbians are like a very a very influential archetype in gay male culture, because for a lot of us, like me, butch lesbians taught you how to be a fucking man. Because if you hang out in gay circles, everybody's a fucking bitch and a queen. But there's like this lady who's like masculine as shit, and she teaches you how to, I don't know, dip snuff and like shoot a gun, or whatever, you know. And like that's how I grew up in these like weird marginal gay scenes where it's like you go to a gay bar, everybody's kind of queer. You're like, I kind of want to be masculine because I'm just not good at makeup or whatever. And so you learn how to be a masculine person from a woman, who is a butch lesbian. They're gone. They're disappeared. They're like an endangered species. And I mean, Elliot Page pretty much tells you everything you didn't know about this. And it's hilarious to me that like it's weird because something that I just sort of internalized as like a weird like subcultural gay culture joke that told the truth, you know, because jokes tell the truth. You know, we're always just like, where's all the lesbians? What did they do? Do they all just like move in together? You know, what the fuck? You know, they move to the country and start goat farms because that's a lesbian thing. But no, I think that Glenn is right, you know, and I feel like he sort of pushed on that a little hard because I feel like that's not the sort of hill he needs to die.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, that's just kind of like marginal to everything. It doesn't lead to anything. He was too easily shot down because he tied his claims to like technocratic data.
Yeah,
people were able to interpret the data any way they want.
You're basically doing like the FBI crime stats thing.
Yes.
Like I see what you're saying. Like where it's like, well, for such a small percentage of the population. Yeah. Like
he looked a little bit like the fucking, you know, Always Sunny in Philadelphia, like conspiracy meme guy for
Charlie.
And I didn't really give a shit too much about that. But what I did care about was the video he did with Herzog, which I didn't finish. I don't watch political videos. I just read the shit. Like I'm not going to watch an hour of people talking. That's insane to me. I don't get why people do it, but like I'll listen while I do something else. But anyway, so that was more important to me because of the pushback he got, you know, and I'm fascinated with the new Substack model of journalism.
I love it. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like literally that's saving our
shout out Adam Lehrer, the best Substack going right now.
Yes,
nobody has a better Substack. He does a based versus cringe thing. That is the fucking best thing I've ever read, where he just does one column and it's for guys like me who don't like to read for a long time. That's what I like. It's just I'm sorry to derail you. I just want to promote Adam.
No, I'm glad you said that because I love Adam. He's
he would go based and he says stuff like retarded in there. It's like awesome. And it's like this is exactly for me. Like
I'm so glad you like that because I just sort of assumed that's for like weird art people.
No, he bridges the gap between like edgelord bro guy and art guy. Like so he would be the guy and he kind of is the guy that introduces me. I mean, look, as you can see behind me, I have art in my life as well. Not personally, but like there's but like he's the kind of guy that gets you into that scene. Cause otherwise I'd be like, whoa, I don't understand any of this shit. Like, what are you guys talking about?
I don't, it's so funny. Like he's just so good at, I don't know. Like I said before, I'm so allergic to all this neolib artistic paradigm, and just I love smart people that see beyond that. And you know, or theory bros that can kind of pick that apart. And you as well, GSD. But absolute master at taking that down. I'm such a dipshit. I you know that the safety propaganda, his Twitter account, because he got banned or whatever on his old one. And I was like, bro, to Ben, I was like, when is he gonna be back on Twitter?
He's been back,
and I'm like, oh, I already follow that dude. He's based, you know. So I was like, I didn't know I was following him still, and I did. So I was like, oh, I guess that's cool. But
dude, he's even going harder now that he got banned. Now that he's just safety propaganda, and he's that's like doesn't have a name attached to it because there's a thing where like it's not even a fear of getting canceled. I think and this is why I never face docs and won't put my real name on it. Not like I have a job that this will get me fired. I have nothing to lose. But like, there's like, if we're going to be brands, fucking be a brand. Be safety propaganda. Don't be Adam Lehrer. There's more power in that shit.
I see what you're saying.
I think, you know, like we've moved past that. So like, I love how he's just going hard now because he's been canceled so many times.
Fucking love it.
You know, and he does have something to lose. Like he has like a writing career that he could be just like completely erased, you know? So that's why it's really,
but that's why the Substack model is so cool.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like I mean, I'm sorry, I derailed you originally. You were talking about how with the Substack model. So continue.
Well, back to that. But like the Katie Herzog, Glenn Greenwald video where they're talking about the trans thing, like Glenn went hard in that, and I feel like that's like it's kind of like his manifesto because he sort of lays out how people are able to just kind of just like claim a new identity out of nowhere, and just and then that is your new armor. You're infallible. You're trans. You're infallible. He's laying it out.
His whole thing was you know, he's lived as a gay dude for decades.
Yes.
And then there's like the you know, it's possible, and I'm not saying this is common or whatever, but it's possible for a biological woman within the context of like a cis marriage turn trans and instantly be more oppressed all of a sudden, you know, according to the, and he was just saying like, nah, that's not the way it works, you know, and
not how it works.
Yeah. And Glenn Greenwald, he's such a fucking queen, you know, he just loves starting shit, dude. He's so
I love him. Yeah.
My favorite one was when he was like, Sadie, Ellison, Jude, Alexandria.
She got us.
Doyle decided to take her dozens of Substack readers off of Substack. That was just like, I was sitting in a bar reading that shit today, and I laughed so fucking hard. This lady asked me what was going on. Like, I was like, he's such a badass in terms of that.
Yeah, the
badass. The thing is, like, well, here's the thing about Glenn is that he's really intelligent, and his enemies are not.
Yeah,
and that's kind of like that is sort of like a failing for Glenn, because like when you read something Glenn writes, like you like the three of us, I'm not calling myself an intellectual or an intelligent person, but I try to be intellectually curious. I try to think around corners and shit. But his enemies don't, and so they're always going to win because they're appealing to the idiot masses. And the masses, it's not their fault that they're idiots. They've just been, you know.
The way I say, you put something into words that I've thought for a while that I couldn't put into words, and like just the fact that Glenn Greenwald, for being so smart, has the dumbest reply guys. Like they cannot accept an ounce of nuance, like or sarcasm or anything like that. And I'd love to talk to him, so we'd love to have him on someday and like ask him about that, because
he should come on.
And it's weird because like. It's like, this is the Edward Snowden guy. Like, you why are you surprised by any of his
Bolsonaro,
takes?
the guy going head to head with Bolsonaro? Like,
like he
doesn't give a shit about you, little reply guy. Like, he's like, I'll wipe my nose with you.
Yeah, this is like I remember that, like, none of us really know about Greenwald, but and none of us would know about Greenwald if it weren't for Snowden. Let's just admit that. And and that right there should show us that the one person who is sort of like saving any kind of intellectual integrity and curiosity and principled stances in the media is only famous because he got famous because of some sensationalist shit. You know what I mean? Like, and that's how like Sadie, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ellison, Jude, whatever, Doyle got. Like, it cracks me up that the bitch suddenly has 8 names now. It's just like, where did that come from? You were Sadie Doyle for fucking 10 years, and now you're just like all these names. Like, and that's like what these anarchoids do. They change their names and expect you to fucking keep up with it. It's just constantly keeping you confused. That's their whole deal, is keeping you confused. Like, what is my gender? What's my name? Like, you don't know.
And then you get then you get like, because this is what's crazy to me about this whole thing, and like, and I'm looking at it from a cis straight white male thing, where I understand, like, growing up in the Bay Area, you kind of see like trans stuff happen a little bit earlier than the rest of the world. I grew up with gay people in my life. It was never at first I'm like, what's this? And then by the time I got to high school, I'm like, okay, I get it. And
I was freaked out by trans people for literally like 45 seconds. I was like, what the, like, I'm the first. I had a boyfriend who went to Sweden and got the fucking sex change and came back as a woman, and we met. I saw them in a coffee shop, and I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? And I literally like processed it all in like 45 seconds, and I was over it. Boom. Done. I get it. I get this. I know you. I understand why you did it. I don't need to think about this anymore. And again, that's why it's so disgusting to see the whole culture going through, instead of it being 45 seconds for them, it's like literally like fucking 10 years of this.
But
sorry to derail. Go ahead.
No, but looking at it from that angle, I just, in my head, I'm thinking like, okay, look, lesbian used to be the only thing that was tolerated maybe 10, 15 years ago. And then now it's kind of more socially acceptable to be a trans male. So I'm just thinking in my head, maybe the whole time they wanted to be trans males, right? And then now it's, maybe you're not, ostracized for it. So like, that was where I looked at it from the data. But like, it's, I don't know, like the whole, as a, knowing your whole life, what'd you say?
None of us can know what these people's internal, like, and that's where their strength comes in. We can't tell if they're, I hate these terms, but we can't tell if they're good faith or bad faith. We can't tell if they're transitioning because they want a media academic career, or they want to up whatever career they have, or if it's legit for them. We can't tell. We don't know. And that's where their power is, because they're sort of holding this over us.
But then you get the things like what I find weird about what's happening right now is, so I saw this in the same week, and this could just be online brain, but I do find out that the online world has like a 2-year window where like you're just basically seeing the things that are going to be in real life. They're being tested out on Twitter.
Yeah.
In a 2-year span. So Twitter isn't real life, but you're just about 2 years ahead of real life. That's what I'm telling. That's what I'm
Twitter
going
is
with.
Virtual life. Not to get delusion, but it's like the imminent virtuality of being that happens before it actually happens.
There's something there. You can't dismiss it as nothing. Yeah. And so, but then like 2 days later, I see this guy this tree, excuse me, say, I'm tree. I'm tree self.
Yes.
I'm tree self. Yeah. And to me, that was like, I went psyop on that. I went full psyop. I said, this is the type of shit to like, one, to create like, no, you can't do that. But two, that's like a conservative psyop to me, where it's like, now, gay marriage, we can't have gay marriage. People will marry their dogs after that. I remember that excuse. This is like, we can't have trans people. People are going to become trees, and like, that's where it almost seemed like a Koch brother thing where like Koch brothers just slid him like fucking, 10 million. It was just like, look, please just do this. Like, and just
everything is a Koch brother thing. Like they don't have to pay these people like tree self.
It's true.
Like, it's like that. Like nobody like tree is doing that because it's just like the water we're swimming in,
But here's the thing.
Tree's deal is literally just like he knows, Tree knows that if you have this boutique pronoun, that's your fucking new Air Jordan sneakers. It's fashion. That's it.
That's what Adam Lehrer says. Yeah,
I didn't lose my shit on that one so much because I was like knowing that dude is like an actor. I don't even know what the fuck.
He's fucking 30 years old. That's when I started losing my mind. Really? You're fucking 30 years old. I thought he was like 19. I was like, oh, okay, that's just you're in college. You're an idiot. Like, I was in my head, but like he's 30 years old. And I'm like, at some point, exactly. And that's when my politics changed. Yeah, like it changed. This guy's 30.
Now I'm worried.
No. Fuck. Here's my thing. We had Slav from the Fed Post on here a while back, and one thing that he said, and I pushed back on him in I said in a newer society, like if we could have our own utopia, and I'd kind of want social libertarianism was what I said, and he said, well, I'm actually more socially conservative, and he said, not so much. I don't have certain beliefs that are socially conservative, but that just means drawing a line. Drawing a line. You can't be a fucking tree. That's my thing. Like, no, you can't be. There's not an oppressed group of people where that want to be fucking inanimate objects, and you're not, and you're basically invalidating real struggle from somebody.
Well, no, here you can be a tree in your fucking head,
and maybe among 3 people you can be a tree.
Yeah, literally, literally, if you change your pronoun from he to she, and you went and got boobs, okay, I'll call you a she if I remember as much. I will go through the psychic energy to make you comfortable. I'll do that. But when you get to that point, it's literally it's authoritarian. Let's be real. It's straight up fucking authoritarian, and they know it. That's how they want power, and it's not power to help the poor trans woman that works at my fucking local Waffle House. It's not to help her. It's to help them individually. It's to help Tree. It's not to help her. Let's be real.
Tree. Yeah, I'm laughing at the libs that trip over themselves to get that pronoun right every time. The fucking
the tree.
Like they're friends or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Well, they don't have beliefs. They don't have. The thing is, like, liberals do not have actual beliefs. Their politics are so malleable. So malleable. You can get them to believe anything on any given day if the right person tells them. So if you tell them that's a tree, but Fox News is saying that's not a tree, they're like, no, Fox News said that's not a tree. Yeah. It's a tree.
Right.
Because I'm a liberal.
Well, here's I got something interesting I want to ask you guys. Like I got one of my best friends up here is biological female, pretty much trans, it's going to start taking testosterone soon, all this stuff, like very clear on that. But at the same time, I'll say she, because she still goes by she. Yeah. She totally clowns on this like cultural trans shit and like the pronouns and stuff. And I'm just like, I'm like, yes. And she brought it up. I didn't even bring it up. I was just like, she asked me, she's like, what do you think about this? And then she went on a rant. We talk about this all the time now. And I'm just and I've heard that before. I've heard conservatives say that before, like the actual trans politics of actual trans people is very different than the cultural, the liberal West Coast kind of vibe. But then now I see it in one of my best friends, and I'm like, I don't want to make any conclusions from that, but I'm like, damn, that's fucking interesting. Like, what's going on here? Not everyone's on the same page.
Well, it's what River.
You mean with the intertrans antagonism? That's kind of what I call it. Like, intertrans antagonism, and it's like, and that's like, okay, in New Orleans, I'll try to keep this short. There's a local club where it's like catch all. It's like gay, straight, queer, weirdo, fucking hip hop. It's everybody. It's like the dirty bar that you go listen to. Like,
so Lil Nas X is there, is what you're saying?
No, he would not come here. I mean, he would come here, but he would have like bodyguards to come here because it's
shit.
It's like a dive bar where everybody's doing coke and like people fall asleep in the bar and they're allowed to stay in the bar overnight. You know, it's that kind of place.
Could I go? Like, would it be weird? It wouldn't be weird. Like,
no, it wouldn't be weird.
Okay,
no.
gotcha.
That's the thing. Like, it's legit. It's legit a working class dive bar club where everybody's accepted, and like you are accepted. Like, but long story short, the person who runs the show is this trans woman who's been like a fixture of the New Orleans like party scene for a decade now, and they're kind of like this matriarchal figure. And they absolutely loathe the baby trans people. They fucking hate them. They hate them worse than any transphobe could ever hate them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this person, they're like, and they're kind of, they took some gender, they took some, you know, estrogen for a while. They're probably like in their late 30s, early 40s. They took some estrogen and then they realized it was too expensive. So they stopped. You know, they're just like, whatever, I'm enough. You know, I'm a woman. And if you can't see me as a woman, I fucking don't care about you. That's their take. You know, their take is like they have confidence in themselves. They know who they are. They know who they are.
And probably want to be left alone. Like River said. Like River, the last time we were on here, that's one thing I took what River said. He's like, Stonewall was for gay people was about being left alone. It wasn't about me being all over TV. It wasn't about, you know, like put me under a microscope. Let's find out what this gay thing is. It was never that. It was just leave me the fuck alone. And I know it's kind of
the opposite now. With
it wasn't just leave me alone. It was like leave my community alone.
Exactly.
And that's what's cool about this bar scene that I'm talking about. And like they're just like, if somebody, like, literally I've been to this bar a few times when someone is just like being a transphobe or a racist asshole, and literally they don't make it 10 seconds.
Yeah,
they're kicked the fuck out. The whole community of this club gets rid of them, and then everybody cheers and goes back to their lives. Yeah,
no Facebook group trying to get them fired. None of that shit. You got clowned at the fucking bar. You tried some dumb shit and you're out.
Exactly.
Isn't it funny?
Not even politicized. Nobody, like, literally this trans person I'm talking about has never even said the word transphobia to me. That's not even in their vocabulary.
Or transmisogyny.
You know? Yeah. Or transmisogynoir, my favorite.
Oh man.
You know?
Yeah.
But this is just like, and what's weird is when you bring this up to like the baby trans people, they're like, oh, well, you're being reactionary because you're saying that trans people have to work extra hard to be accepted. I'm like, bitch, we all have to work extra hard to be accepted, whatever you are. If you're a nerd who's into Magic the Gathering, you have to defend that. If you're a sports bro who hangs out around art fags, you have to defend that. You always have to
let's
defend,
go, brother.
You always have to defend who you are on one way or another. Like that, like social friction is what makes life interesting and worth living. And these people just want to erase it all and be, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, it
well,
sounds like
everything's,
they want to be coddled. They just want to be cradled and
everything's sanitized. And I do want to bring up just my thought on the Lil Nas X video, which I have zero problems with, of course.
Me either. Yeah.
You know,
you watched it over 100 times. I
have the opposite of a problem with it. But I was, and I've people have.
I loved it. Now. Yeah. I'd love to talk to you about how much I love it.
Yeah.
Now I know.
One thought I had, I was watching it. Yeah, I was watching, and one thought, and people have put this into words better than I have, and maybe you guys will, of how it's completely sexual, but it's so. And I'm not hating on it like artistically or whatever, but it's so corny and desexualized at the same time.
He's an internet troll. He's an internet troll. People don't realize he ran like he was a meme lord on like Twitter before he made Old Town Road when he had like 2 meme pages going, and he was a Nicki Minaj stan on the internet, which is like
it?
Yeah,
I never knew.
Yeah, no, he used to have like Nicki Minaj Abby's. He used to be like a reply guy and all that stuff, and then he made Old Town Road. And like it took off. He was like, dude, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Like, I made this song and it's like fucking, I made it in like 5 minutes in a fucking studio. Like, and
awesome.
And then,
dude, that explains so much.
Well, then, and it's funny when he came out and I was like, well, you were a Nicki Minaj stan on the internet. Like we all knew, we knew that. But it was just, keep going. But no, but usually a Nicki Minaj stan is usually a gay man on the internet. Like just period. And, but yeah, he was like a meme. He's doing this to piss somebody off. And honestly, it's irrelevant. He had one huge hit, was quiet for a little bit. This is his back. Like, it's nothing more than that. This isn't some fucking Illuminati like blood sucking sacrifice.
Oh yeah, the conservatives are retarded about this.
Yeah,
shit.
I hate this shit, dude.
Yeah.
I saw Gay Stepdad posting about it too. It was the same thing.
Yeah, it's absolutely it's the corniest thing I've ever seen, and like literally, like the most boring part of the video is what everybody's flipping out about.
Exactly.
The first half is like the grossest, most disgusting part to me, because it's just like, it's like, what is that? What is that like weird Pixar Disney shit? Like, you know, like what, like is it trolling or is it?
It's trolling.
I think
it's trolling. I think he's just a troll. He's an irony edgelord, bro, on the internet, and he got famous. He got famous. So like, yeah, if you somebody pulled up old tweets on him, some Christian like person who was mad about it pulled up old tweets, and he's like, you know, calling like fat shaming celebrities and stuff. What people do on Twitter, what like normal gay guys do on Twitter is like
he was fat shaming celebrities.
Yeah, but this was like before like he was famous. Because he was a stan. So like he was a Nicki Minaj stan. So anybody who was in the way of Nicki Minaj, he's fat shaming. He's doing all this stuff.
Sure.
So I'm like, dude, that's all this is. Stop giving this guy some credit. Like it was never. So first off, if like there is some crazy Illuminati, like let's turn all the kids gay and make them satanic, they're not going to be like Lil Nas X. That's our guy. right. We're going to do that. Like, and I'm sure like to him, he was probably going to change his name to Lil Malcolm X and do that video. That would have been crazy.
That would have been cool as shit.
That would have been the ultimate troll. I know the exec was like, you can't do that. Yeah.
That's a little too much. Yeah.
Everything else is great. But like I'm telling you, he likes to piss people off. Like, and that was his whole thing. He was like, I'm going to make a country song as a troll.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like, and obviously it was the #1 fucking song in America for like 6 months. It felt like.
And I don't know about you guys, but like my boyfriend is a sex worker who cosplays as a Southern redneck for his clients, and his like, he has a porn. Has a porn career. He's a New York Jew who like cosplays as like a redneck, and they love it. They fucking he gets flown around the world to like do porns for this. And he and I were listening to this shit, and we're like, wow, this is cool, because like, you know, Billy Ray Cyrus came to this guy's defense, and like it was a coming together of you know, supposedly racist boat dealer country guys and like rap guys, you know. Cool. It felt good. And like at the time, like we would drive around town bumping the song and being like, wow, this is cool, this feels good, because you know, these people are coming together. But now we realize that even that was a psyop. Like that was literally, it wasn't about bringing two supposedly different groups together. It was just about this guy's fucking career, you know.
But
so I mean, I think that's just the new model. That's what we're gonna maybe die on. I don't know.
People did that with Katy Perry. People did that with Katy Perry's video. I remember she had that one where it was supposed to be demonic and stuff. It's like this shit happens every fucking.
Well, that was the one with Juicy J, right? So that
that one.
Yeah. And actually, that video and that song was infinitely better than the fucking
way better. That beat fucking knocks.
Yeah, that was Juicy J is the shit.
Yeah, exactly. No, that was cool. Like,
he's cool.
Did you see Adam Lehrer call Benjamin Dixon like a Juicy J affect, but for like woke shit?
Yes, I love that
fucking guy. Perfect. Yeah, no, that brought me. Somebody else said it too on here, or in the Twitter world or whatever, was saying like, isn't it funny how like, and Benjamin Dixon does this, and I put it all together when Adam said that, was like they take the most fucking normie lame politics and add like profanity to them. Yeah, and they'll be like, we're in a fucking pandemic. We're in a, you're like you're fucking transphobic. Like,
I'm sorry, but Glenn, what'd you say? Benjamin Dixon mouth, dude?
Yeah, Benjamin Dixon mouth. Yeah, but that was it's hyphenated last name, but that was
awesome, dude.
Yeah, that was. I mean, it's too easy.
Yeah,
but,
my favorite is when that guy like couldn't even try to say he couldn't even like threaten to kick Michael Tracy's ass. Did you see that video?
Yeah,
that's my
for Martin Luther, for saying Martin Luther King probably would be transphobic, basically.
Well, no, he implied it. That's like, I love Michael Tracy, but that's one of his little bitch moves, and that's
edgelord.
I used to be a rad lib hater of Michael Tracy before I came to my senses. I was like, you know, like when everyone's like, oh, fucking this guy, not the take, bro, cringe, you know, and then I was like, oh wait, like he's like autistic as fuck, but he's on point, you know. But he's what Gay Stepdad said is right. He knew what he was getting into by saying that, and then somebody came at him, and then Benjamin Dixon's like, "We should meet up," is what he said.
Yeah.
Like when
like to fight or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And Michael Tracy like had the best comeback ever. He's like, "Why are you mad?" Like it was perfect. It was like so cool.
Are you gonna cry? Cool. It's like posting Menace. Are you gonna cry? Like just like, wait, what are you gonna cry? Like and nothing would happen if they met up. Nothing would happen.
No,
Neither of
go
those
get
guys is
bagels.
fighting. None of the.
They
Neither
go
of
get
those guys.
fucking bagels, and because they're fat asses, that's all they do.
But I didn't want to.
I have to say something.
Yo, go ahead,
You said something about Lil Nas X being like an irony bro edgelord thing, like, and you're like, he's just an irony bro edgelord. Like, no, that's the new model. That's the new paradigm. Like, that's all we're gonna get for the next 3 to 5 years, probably. And like, it's gonna be like
that's how you build a career. Yeah, that's
it's gonna be an arms race to see who can be the most edgiest. And actually, that kind of gives me some hope, because I think we're gonna see, like, because like we touched on the anarchist DJ realizing that the quote post left unquote was like the avant-garde of political and cultural thinking,
right?
So and both of we have no choice but to be edgy. You if you say something rationally, like, not even Glenn Greenwald says things rationally,
right?
Like he puts his rationality, he puts his like gay polemicism in this drag of rationality. That's how he works. Because Glenn Greenwald is just as much of an edgelord as anybody else.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like, and actually, to me, that's exciting for the culture. Like, if people lament it, I think it's great. Like, we need more combative discourse. We need people screaming at each other. We need more conflict. Yeah. I think it's fine. To me, the fact that discourse is so full of conflict and confrontation is great. That's not the problem.
We need
it's
questions.
Just like, who has the most power is the fucking problem.
Yeah. And asking questions is not violence. I'm just like, the questions are good, Yeah. And, and with the
I'm sorry, Noname, right? Noname had an old tweet where she was like, or white people, y'all need to organize your community a little bit better, because this is an embarrassment.
Yeah.
And then one guy replies to her and is like, any ways you have in mind? Like, I'm trying to, I agree, I'm trying to get it going. And then everyone replied with, Google is free, you can Google that. He goes, do you want me to Google white people organizing?
Like
the KKK, like, that's gonna show up. Like, you want me to Google that? That's what you're basically lobbing me to the internet to find out what white organization is, and like, or fixing the white community. Like, if I Google that, something weird's gonna come up.
I'm gonna create I'm gonna create an impossible set of rules and regulations to follow, but you have to figure it out going blind on your own. That's
using big tech, who we want to save us.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we'll make no mistake. I mean, anybody who's read, like, I'm from the South, so I know a little bit about post Civil War Reconstruction, and the race was constructed and created in order to justify slavery, and then after the Civil War, it was reconstructed, to justify Jim Crow, and now, like, 2020 and what we're experiencing now with Noname and all these fucking like bourgeois black academics is like, it's the reinvention of racism. That's it. It's not that complicated, and so like they have to keep it going. But like I said, I'd rather just like you'd rather know if someone is racist than to not know if they're racist. I would rather somebody like Noname say that poor white, I'll never forget the quote, actually, poor white people reproduce anti-black violence. Like, that's what she said. Like, I'd rather know that these fucking people are working on that register than not. So it doesn't really make me upset. It just makes me, like I said, it just disgusts me, because I'm reliving my fucking, adolescence in the wider discourse. That's why it's gross. Yeah. But on the whole, I think it's good. And like, I don't know if it's going to end up with us all like, dying in nuclear hellfire, or if it's going to end up with us all like figuring a way to, mitigate all this bullshit. But I'd rather have conflict than not. Yeah. Well, shit. Well, I think that's a good thing to end on. I think we're at a good time here, but I appreciate you coming by, man. Thank you. Anytime you got anything spicy to say, we're the guys. Just hop on. Just fucking invite yourself on. Yeah. I will. I'm working on some shit, and I'll let you guys. Are you okay? Because I was just thinking the other day, because I was listening to you, and I want to give this guy a shout out. Zach. Who did? Yes. I'm so popular. I'm so popular. Yeah. I was listening to you on there. Now, I hate the movie Drive. I don't like it at all. But, I love people who don't like that. I don't like that movie at all. Yeah, but you're the kind of guy I want to drink with. I don't want to drink with another faggot. Well, I'm gonna hold you to that, because we're gonna go out to New Orleans. But that guy has one of the best produced podcasts I've ever heard in my life. Like just musical interludes, like fades the last word out of somebody, like does all these panning echo effects. Really fucking cool. But I've heard you. And are you ever gonna start like a podcast? I'm thinking about it, but I'm not. Let me give a little quick quick diversion here. Like
Uh-huh.
I've been thinking about it for months, and I'm unemployed. What the fuck else am I going to do except for what I do?
That's what we did. Yeah.
I'm trying to figure. I want to do something different. I don't want to.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
what I love about your podcast, what I love about Zach's podcast, what I love about Fed Post is like kind of overtly political. Is like we're all all the podcasts are living under the shadow of Chapo, right?
Mhm.
And like it's truly obscene and disgusting to me what they've done, how they've sort of they're like, we're not political, we're comedians, but we're also political, but we're comedians, but we're political, we're comedians. And so like to me, like, and another podcast I love, of course, is Red Scare. Like to me, that's like the best podcast in the world for me. Perfume Nationalists, not just because they're gay or gay adjacent, but because
Jack is hilarious.
They talk about culture, and then they bring in politics, and then they go back to culture.
Yeah.
So like basically I'm just trying to come up with a new model that I won't feel like I'm grifting off of people's political anger or sadness.
You're not trying to be cringe, is basically.
I'm not trying to be cringe.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to rush it. I'm not going to jump into some media project. If people are into what I want to do, I want to get people involved, but I'm not going to jump into something.
I hear you. Well, dude, you have the voice is what I was getting at. I'm like, it's crazy. Like I don't know if your background or anything, but like you didn't study broadcasting, did you?
Not at all.
That's insane, dude. It's
I'm
like
a bartender.
That's very much communication. It's basically studying communications within the working class, basically. Like working, like, you know, what do they call it? Like on-job education. Like it's essentially what that is. But okay, nonetheless, Gay Stepdad. It's at Gay Stepdad with the E, right?
Yeah, GAYE Stepdad.
Got it. On Twitter. If you don't follow him already, I don't know what the hell you're doing. We're at Rare Candy Pod 1. He's at Crypto Sci. I'm at Glenn Rockney. Got a lot of fun guests coming up. Appreciate you guys listening. If you're listening for the first time, I hope you stick around. And that's it for us, guys.
Awesome, man. Thank you, guys.
All right, man.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Good night.